The year was 1956, and Elvis Presley was a whirlwind. One minute he was a shy kid from Tupelo. The next he was the king, shaking up the world with his voice and his hips. Money was pouring in like a waterfall, more than he'd ever dreamed. He bought Graceland, a mansion that felt as big as a small town to him. And he started collecting cars, not just any cars, but sleek Cadillacs, Lincolns, Thunderbirds, his driveway. But it wasn't just about owning them. For Elvis, cars were more than metal and horsepower. They were freedom, a way to escape, a symbol of everything he'd achieved. And soon they became something else, a way to spread joy. It started subtly, almost by accident. One sweltering Memphis afternoon, Elvis was out for a drive in his brand new pink Cadillac. The paint shimmered in the sun, turning heads everywhere he went. He loved the attention, but sometimes he just wanted to be a regular guy. Pulled into a diner, a greasy spoon he used to frequent before he hit it big. He ordered a burger and a milkshake, trying to blend in, though his flashy car parked right outside made that impossible. He noticed a young waitress, no older than he was, hustling between tables. Her name tag read Betty. Her hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and there was a smudge of grease on her cheek, but her eyes held a quiet determination. She looked tired, worn out. He remembered those days, working odd jobs, saving every penny. Betty came to his table, a faint smile on her lips. "Anything else for you, Mr. Presley?" she asked, her voice raspy from a long shift. "Just Elvis, please," he corrected, flashing his famous smile. "You look like you've been working hard, Betty," she sighed, wiping her hands on her apron. He saw the struggle, the pride, the sheer exhaustion. He thought about his own struggles, how lucky he was now. And then he looked out the window at his pink Cadillac gleaming under the afternoon sun. It hit him like a bolt of lightning. He finished his milkshake, paid his bill, and left a generous tip. As he stood up to leave, he paused beside Betty's table. "Betty," he said, his voice soft but clear, "come on outside with me for a minute." Betty's brow furrowed in confusion, but she followed him, curiosity warring with fatigue. They stepped out. Axe seemed to glow. "That's a real beauty, isn't it?" Elvis said, gesturing to the car. "It sure is, Mr. Presley," Betty replied, her eyes wide. "Never seen one up close before." "Well," Elvis began, reaching into his pocket and pulling out a set of keys. "It's all yours." Betty stared at him, her mouth agape. "What, Mr. Presley? Are you joking?" "No joke, Betty. I want you to have it," he said, pressing the keys into her hand. "You work hard. You deserve something nice. This Cadillac will get you to work, get you home, and maybe even take you on a little vacation when you get a day off." Tears welled up in Betty's eyes. She clutched the keys. "But I can't. It's too much. I could never—" "Nonsense," Elvis interrupted gently. "Consider it a thank you for all the meals you've served, for all the hard work you do. Just promise me one thing." Down her face. "Anything. Promise me you'll drive it, and promise me you'll enjoy it." He squeezed her shoulder. "Now go on, take it for a spin. You earned it." Betty could barely speak. She looked at the gleaming pink Cadillac, then back at Elvis, who was already turning to walk away, a faint smile on his face. She felt a surge of disbelief, then overwhelming gratitude. She walked around the car, touching the smooth paint, running her hand over the chrome. She slid into the driver's seat, the leather soft and cool. The engine purred to life with a gentle rumble. As she drove away, slowly at first, then with a growing sense of exhilaration, she caught a glimpse of Elvis in her rearview mirror. He was standing by the diner entrance watching her go, a quiet satisfaction in his eyes. He hailed a taxi that had just pulled up, and with a wink he was gone. Betty, the tired waitress, was now the owner of a brand new pink Cadillac. Her life in that moment had changed forever. And Elvis, he knew deep down that this wouldn't be the last car he gave away. It felt too good, too right. The story of Betty and the pink Cadillac spread like wildfire around Memphis. Some people whispered about Elvis's extravagant nature, but most saw it for what it was, an act of incredible kindness. Elvis, meanwhile, barely thought about it. For him, it was just a moment, a decision made on an impulse driven by a desire to help someone, but it had planted a seed. He realized that his growing wealth wasn't just for himself. It could be used to make a real difference in people's lives. Soon after, Elvis settled into Graceland, making it his home a sanctuary from the screaming crowds. His family moved in too. His parents, Gladys and Vernon, and his grandmother, Minnie Mae. And then there was the Memphis Mafia, his loyal circle of friends and cousins who were always around. Red West Lamar Fike, Billy Smith, and his cousin Gene Smith. They were more than just an entourage. They were his chosen family, his constant companions. One sunny afternoon, a few months after moving into Graceland, Elvis was out in the sprawling front yard throwing a football with Red and Gene. The air was thick with the scent of honeysuckle and the sound of laughter. Vernon, Elvis's father, came out onto the porch, wiping his brow. "Son," Vernon called out, his voice a little strained. "Gladys and I were just talking. Minnie Mae's old car that Studebaker. It finally kicked the bucket this morning. She's heartbroken. Can't get to the market. Can't visit her sister." Elvis stopped, the football clutched in his hand. Minnie Mae, his grandmother, was a feisty, independent woman. She loved her old car, even though it was practically falling apart. The thought of her stuck at home, sad, bothered him. He loved his grandmother fiercely. He looked around his own impressive collection of vehicles parked in the newly built garage and spilling out onto the driveway. There was a sleek black Cadillac, Eldorado, a shiny white Lincoln Continental, a red Thunderbird. He had cars. He hadn't even driven yet. "Red, Jen," Elvis said, tossing the football aside. "Come on with me." He led them into the garage. A cavernous space filled with the scent of oil and new car leather. Red whistled. "Man, you got more cars than a dealership in here." "That's the plan," Elvis grinned. He walked past a few of his favorites, then stopped in front of a beautiful, gleaming blue Cadillac Fleetwood. It was elegant, stately but not too flashy. "This one," he said, patting the hood. "This one's for Grandma." "The Fleetwood? That's a beauty, Elvis. She'll love it. But are you sure?" "Of course I'm sure," Elvis said, already reaching for the keys hanging on a hook. "She needs a reliable car, and she deserves the best." He grabbed a set of keys and tossed them to Gene. "Gene, you drive it around to the front. Make sure it's polished red. You help me get Grandma out here without her suspecting anything." A few minutes later, Minnie Mae, curious but a little grumbling about being interrupted from her crossword puzzle, was escorted out onto the porch by Red and Vernon. Her eyes scanned the drive, then landed on the pristine blue Cadillac. "What's all this fuss about?" she asked, adjusting her glasses. "Whose car is that, Elvis? Someone new visiting?" Elvis stepped forward, a wide grin on his face. "Grandma," he said, extending his hand, "that beautiful automobile is all yours, a little gift from me." Minnie Mae's jaw dropped. She blinked a few times, then slowly walked down the steps, her hand trembling slightly as she reached out to touch the smooth blue paint. "My word," she whispered. "Elvis, you're just too much. I can't take this. It's too fancy for an old lady like me." "Nonsense, Grandma," Elvis insisted, putting an arm around her shoulders. "You're the finest lady I know, and you deserve the finest car. No more walking, no more worrying about that old heap. This one will get you where you need to go in style." He opened the driver's side door for her. Minnie Mae, with a look of pure awe on her face, slowly slid into the plush seat. The interior smelled of new leather. She ran her hand over the dashboard, her eyes shining. "Start her up, Grandma," Elvis encouraged. She turned the key and the powerful engine purred to life. A wide smile spread across her face. "Transcasterner." "Well, "I'll be," she chuckled. "A Cadillac. Who would have thought?" Gene, standing nearby, leaned over to Red. "More than driving him himself. I reckon he gets a real kick out of it." Elvis spent the next half hour showing Minnie Mae all the features of her new car, patiently explaining how everything worked. She drove it slowly around the long driveway, beaming the whole time. For Elvis, watching her joy was more satisfying than any hit record. He realized then that giving away cars wasn't just a spontaneous act. It was becoming part of who he was. It was a way to share his incredible good fortune, to spread a little bit of the magic he felt every day. And he knew with certainty that this was only the beginning. The Graceland garage might be full now, but it would soon become a revolving door of automotive generosity. Elvis's reputation for generosity grew with each passing month. It wasn't just the media reports about his extravagant gifts, but the whispers from the people he truly touched. He didn't give away cars for the headlines, he did it because he genuinely wanted to help. His reasoning was simple. He had more than he needed, and others had less. One crisp autumn morning, a couple of years after moving into Graceland, Elvis was at a Memphis dealership browsing. He loved the smell of new cars, the gleaming chrome, the endless possibilities. He wasn't even looking for a car for himself this time, he was just looking. He overheard a conversation between a young couple and a salesman. Couple, a lean young man named Billy, and a shy woman named Mary, looked heartbroken. "We just can't make it work, Mr. Henderson," Billy said, running a hand through his hair. "The down payment is too much, and with Mary expecting, we just can't afford the payments right now. My old clunker barely runs, and it's not safe for the baby." Mary nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "We need something reliable, Billy. I start work at the factory next month, and the bus route is so long." The salesman, Mr. Henderson, looked sympathetic. "I wish I could help you more, folks. It's a tough market." Elvis, who had been pretending to admire a sleek Ford Thunderbird nearby, quietly stepped closer. He recognized the look in their eyes, desperation, hope fading. He'd seen it before, felt it himself in the early days. He cleared his throat. "Excuse me," he said, turning to the couple. "I couldn't help but overhear. Are you looking for a family car?" Billy and Mary turned, surprised to see Elvis Presley standing there. Their eyes widened. "Ah, yes, Mr. Presley," Billy stammered, starstruck. "We are." But Elvis smiled kindly. "No need to explain. I know how it is. What kind of car were you looking at?" Mary pointed to a sensible charcoal gray sedan. "A reliable-looking Chevrolet Impala." "That one," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "It's perfect. Roomy, safe. We just can't." "Mr. Henderson," Elvis interrupted, turning to the salesman. "My name's Elvis Presley for this young couple." Mr. Henderson's jaw dropped. Billy and Mary gasped. "But Mr. Presley," Billy protested, his face flushed. "You don't have to do that. We're strangers." "No, you're not," Elvis countered gently. "You're people in need, and I'm someone who can help. That's all that matters. And a new baby needs a safe ride," he winked at Mary. "It's a gift, no strings attached. Just a little help to get you on your feet." Mary burst into tears. Happy tears this time. Billy was speechless, just shaking his head in disbelief. A wide grin slowly spreading across his face. "Get all the paperwork ready, Mr. Henderson," Elvis instructed the stunned salesman. "Make sure it's filled up with gas, ready to drive off the lot, and throw in a car seat if you have one for the little one." Mr. Henderson quickly snapped out of his shock. "Yes, Mr. Presley. Right away, Mr. Presley." He practically saluted. While the paperwork was being handled, Elvis chatted with Billy and Mary. He asked about their jobs, their hopes for the baby. He listened, truly listened, making them feel like the most important people in the room. He talked about his own humble beginnings, making them feel less like recipients of charity and more like friends. He was helping out. When the Impala was ready, gleaming under the showroom lights, Elvis handed the keys to Billy. "There you go, son," he said. "Drive safe, and congratulations on the baby." Billy, still overwhelmed, just managed to choke out, "Thank you, Mr. Presley. Thank you so much. We don't know how to repay you." "You don't need to repay me," Elvis said, putting a hand on Billy's shoulder. "Just pay it forward when you can. That's all the thanks I need." As Billy and Mary drove off the lot in their new car, a symbol of hope and a fresh start, Elvis watched them go, a familiar warmth spreading through him. He saw the relief on their faces, the quiet joy, and he knew he'd done the right thing. Later that week, back at Graceland, Jen, his cousin, found Elvis sketching car designs in a notebook. "Heard you were at the dealership again, Jen said, leaning against the doorframe. "Another one gone?" Elvis looked up, a faraway look in his eyes. "Yeah, Gene, a young couple expecting a baby. Their old car broke down. They needed it. You just can't help yourself, can you?" Gene chuckled. Elvis smiled. "Why would I want to? It feels good, Gin. Better than buying all these cars for myself. It's like every time I give one away, a little piece of worry lifts from someone's shoulders, and that feels like pure gold to me. Besides, there are always more cars," and he was right. For Elvis, giving cars was becoming a way of life, a constant reminder that with great success came a great opportunity to make a positive impact, one set of wheels at a time. Word of Elvis's car getaway spread like wildfire far beyond Memphis. He became known as the King, Elvis the Pelvis, and increasingly, the Car Man. People started writing him letters asking for help, telling him their stories. Some were genuine, heartbreaking tales of need. Others were simply hopeful pleas from those looking for a lucky break. Elvis, with his big heart, tried to help where he could. His staff, especially his father Vernon, who handled his finances, sometimes worried about the sheer volume of his generosity. "Son," Vernon would say, "you can't just be giving away Cadillacs to everyone who asks. You go broke." Elvis would just laugh. "Dad, we're making more money than we know what to do with. And besides, it's not everyone. It's people who really need it. And if I go broke helping folks, then that's how it's supposed to be." Vernon would just shake his head, a mix of exasperation and pride on his face. He knew arguing with Elvis on this point was pointless. One day, while Elvis was in Los Angeles filming a movie, he took a break and decided to visit a local car lot. He loved looking at cars, even when he wasn't planning a giveaway. He found himself admiring a beautiful blue Ford Mustang convertible, a truly stunning car. As he was looking, a young man, dressed in a mechanic's jumpsuit, approached him, holding a wrench. "Excuse me, Mr. Presley," the mechanic said, his voice nervous. "I don't mean to bother you, but I'm a huge fan. My name's Tommy." Elvis smiled. "No bother at all, Tommy. Glad to meet you." He shook Tommy's greasy hand firmly. Tommy's eyes kept darting to the Mustang. "That's my dream car right there," he confessed, a wistful look in his eyes. "Been saving up for years, working 2 jobs, but with rent and my sister's medical bills, it feels impossible sometimes." Elvis listened. He noticed the sincerity in Tommy's voice, the genuine passion for cars. "What do you do here, Tommy?" he asked. "I'm a mechanic," Tommy replied, puffing out his chest a little. "Been working on cars since I was old enough to hold a wrench. Love it more than anything. I even fix up old clunkers on the side to make extra cash." Elvis nodded slowly. "So you know cars, huh, Mr. Presley?" Elvis paused, looking at the gleaming Mustang, then back at Tommy's earnest face. "Tell you what, Tommy," he said suddenly. "Good," Elvis said, a mischievous glint in his eye. "Then how about we start with this one?" He pointed to the blue Mustang convertible. "Consider it a work for Bitterverd Bify make Cruver Bird X. It'll be your fee and enough work for me. Well then, it's yours, free and clear." Tommy stared, speechless. He looked from Elvis to the Mustang, then back again. "Mr. Presley, you're serious?" He found a salesman and quickly arranged the purchase, making it clear the car was for Tommy. Just make sure it's ready for him to drive off the lot, he instructed. Tommy could barely believe it. He practically floated as he went to get the keys and paperwork. When he returned, still in a daze, Elvis handed him the keys. "Now remember," Elvis said, a twinkle in his eye. "This is strictly a work car. You've got to take good care of it," Tommy grinned, a wide, joyful smile. "I'll treat it like it's my own, Mr. Presley, better even." Elvis clapped him on the shoulder. "That's what I like to hear. You enjoy it, Tommy." As Elvis walked away, Tommy stood there, clutching the keys, staring at the Mustang, his dream car given to him. Just like that, he knew Elvis hadn't really needed a mechanic to look after his cars in LA. This was just Elvis's way of giving a gift disguised as a job. The Carman legend was real. News of the Mustang giveaway traveled quickly back to Memphis, even reaching Vernon. Vernon exclaimed to Jane one evening, shaking his head. And this time he made it sound like a job. Jane just smiled. "That's just Elvis, Uncle Vernon. He finds a reason for everything. And Tommy, that kid, he's going to work that car like it's the most important job he's ever had. That's what Elvis wants. He gives them the gift, but he also gives them a reason to feel proud, to feel like they earned it in a way." He knew that for many a handout, even a generous one, could feel like charity. But if he could frame it as a reward, a thank you, or even a loan that never needed repayment, it allowed people to accept the gift with dignity. It was more than just a car, it was a belief in someone, a vote of confidence, and that, Elvis knew, was priceless. The fame could be suffocating for Elvis. Constant demands, the loss of privacy, the feeling of being trapped in a golden cage, but giving away cars paradoxically made him feel free. It was his secret escape, a way to connect with real people beyond the screaming fans and the movie sets. He saw their genuine reactions, their raw emotions, and it reminded him of his own humble beginnings. These cars weren't just gifts. They were lifelines, symbols of hope, and sometimes even second chances. One afternoon in the late 1950s, Elvis was driving through a quiet neighborhood in Memphis, trying to avoid the main roads. He wasn't recognized as often in these sleepy areas. He spotted an older woman struggling to carry several heavy grocery bags. She was frail, her hair white, and she stumbled a little as she walked. His heart went out to her. He pulled his sleek black Cadillac to the curb beside her. "Ma'am, can I help you with those bags?" he offered, rolling down his window. The woman looked up, startled. She peered into the car. Then her eyes widened slightly as she recognized him. "Oh, Mr. Presley," she exclaimed, a blush creeping up her cheeks. "You needn't bother yourself. I'm almost home." "It's no bother at all," Elvis insisted. Getting out of the car, he gently took the bags from her. "Here, let me carry these for you. Where's home?" She pointed to a small, modest house just a block away. As they walked, Elvis chatted with her, asking about her day, listening patiently as she told him about her struggles. Her name was Agnes, and her husband had passed away a few years ago. She lived alone, relying on her small pension and walking everywhere because her old car had broken down and she couldn't afford a new one. They reached her front door. As Elvis set the bags down, he noticed a small, dilapidated garage in the backyard. The door was slightly ajar, revealing the rusted shell of an old sedan. "That's my old Bessie," Agnes said sadly, following his gaze. "She served me well for 20 years, but she's long gone now. I miss the freedom of driving, you know, just being able to go to the store without planning it. Like a military operation." Elvis looked at the old car, then at Agnes's tired but kind face. He thought about his own grandmother, Minnie Mae, and how much her Cadillac meant to her. "Agnes," he said, turning to her, "I have an idea. How about I come back tomorrow morning and we take a look at Bessie? Maybe she just needs a little TLC. Agnes's eyes lit up. "Oh, Mr. Presley, you're too kind. But you're a busy man, you don't have to." "I want to," Elvis insisted. "I used to be a mechanic myself, remember? I love working on cars. I'll be back around 10. The next morning, Elvis arrived at Agnes's house, not alone, but with Jane and Red and a flatbed truck. carrying a shiny pale blue Dodge Coronet. It was a sturdy, reliable car, perfect for an older lady. Agnes met him at the door, surprised. "Well, Agnes," Elvis said, a twinkle in his eye, "I had to think about Bessie, and truth be told, I don't think she's going to be much use to you anymore, so I brought you a new Bessie." He gestured to the Dodge and the flatbed. "This one's strong, safe, and will get you anywhere you need to go." Agnes was speechless. Her hands flew to her mouth. "A new car for me," she whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. "Oh, Mr. Presley, I can't accept this. It's too much." "Nonsense, Agnes," Elvis said gently. "You need it. You deserve to have your freedom back. And think of all those groceries you can fit in the trunk now." He smiled reassuringly. "Consider it a gift from a friend, no strings attached." Agnes walked slowly around the Dodge as it was carefully unloaded. She ran her hand over the smooth paint, her eyes wide with wonder. She looked at Elvis, then back at the car, her face a mix of disbelief and overwhelming gratitude. "You're a truly good man, Mr. Presley," she managed to say, her voice thick with emotion. "A truly good man." Elvis just smiled. "Just Elvis. Agnes, now let's get you behind the wheel. We'll take her for a spin around the block." As Agnes drove her new Dodge, cautiously at first, then with a growing sense of confidence and joy, Elvis watched her. He saw not just a woman with a new car, but a woman who had regained her independence, her dignity. It was more than just a car. It was a bridge to a better life. And for Elvis, seeing that transformation was more fulfilling than any concert, any movie premiere. It was moments like these that truly fed his soul and reminded him why he did what he did. Elvis's life was a whirlwind of tours, recording sessions, and movie sets. The cheers of thousands, the flashing lights, the constant adoration. It was exhilarating, but it was also incredibly isolating. He was the king, but sometimes he longed to be just plain Elvis, a regular guy who could walk down the street without causing a riot. Cars he gave away became his quiet rebellion against the gilded cage of fame. They were a way for him to reach out, to connect with people on a human level far removed from the spectacle. One evening, after a particularly grueling recording session in Nashville, Elvis was tired and feeling the weight of his celebrity. He stepped out of the studio, intending to head straight back to his hotel, when he noticed a small group of fans waiting by the stage door despite the late hour. Most had given up and gone home, but a few devoted ones remained. Among them was a young woman no older than 20, standing alone clutching a worn Piebald record album. Her face was pale, and her eyes looked tired and sad even when she tried to smile as he approached. "Evening, folks," Elvis said, trying to sound cheerful despite his exhaustion. He signed a few autographs, chatted briefly. When he got to the young woman, he noticed her hand trembled as she held out her album. "Thank you, Mr. Presley," she whispered, her voice barely audible. I just wanted to say thank you for your music. It gets me through a lot." Elvis looked at her. He saw something in her eyes, a deep sadness that worried him. "Are you all right, honey?" he asked, his voice gentle. "You look like you've had a long day." She hesitated. Then a single tear traced a path down her cheek. "My mama's real sick, Mr. Presley," she confessed, her voice cracking. "She's in the hospital. I take the bus after my shift every night to go see her. It's a long ride. And She trailed off, unable to finish. Elvis's heart went out to her. He understood the unspoken burden. Medical bills, long commutes, the exhaustion of caring for a loved one. He remembered his own mother, Gladys, and how much he adored her. "What's your name, honey?" he asked. "Sarah," she replied, wiping her eyes. "Sarah," Elvis repeated. "I'll be back in a minute." He ducked back inside the studio, found his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, and explained the situation. The colonel, always pragmatic, sighed. "Elvis, you can't just give away a car every time you see someone looking sad. We'll be bankrupt by Tuesday," Colonel Elvis said firmly. "This isn't about being sad. This is about helping someone when they're truly down. This girl needs a way to get to her mother. It's important, and I have plenty of cars." He didn't wait for an argument. He just told the colonel to make the arrangements to call a local dealership he often used and have them bring a car over right now. Within 20 minutes, a sleek, reliable sedan, a dark blue Plymouth Fury, pulled up to the studio entrance. Sarah, who had been waiting patiently, watched in stunned silence. Elvis walked up to her, holding out a set of keys. "Sarah," he said, "this car's for you so you can get to your mama whenever you need. Without worrying about buses or schedules, just get her well, all right?" Sarah stared at the keys, then at the car, then at Elvis. She couldn't speak. Tears streamed down her face, but this time they were tears of pure relief and gratitude. "Mr. Presley?" she choked out. I can't. It's too much. How can I ever repay you?" "You don't have to," Elvis said softly. "Just take good care of your mama. That's all the repayment I need." He squeezed her hand, pressing the keys into her palm. "And try to get some rest too, you hear? It'll all be all right." He led her to the car, opened the door, and gently ushered her in. He made sure she knew how to start it, how to drive it. Sarah, still in a daze, managed to start the engine. It purred softly. "Thank you," she whispered again, looking up at him through her tears. "Thank you, from the bottom of my heart." Elvis just nodded, a genuine smile on his face. As she slowly drove away, disappearing into the Nashville night, Elvis felt a familiar warmth spread through him. The exhaustion from the studio seemed to dissipate. It was moments like these that reminded him that despite the heavy burdens of fame, he had the power to make a real, tangible difference in someone's life. He couldn't fix every problem, but he could ease one burden, one worried heart, at a time, one car at a time. And sometimes that was enough. Elvis loved Memphis. It was home where he felt most comfortable, surrounded by his family and friends. Even with his global fame, he remained grounded by his root. And it was in Memphis that some of his most surprising and spontaneous car gabos occurred, driven purely by the joy of giving. One particularly hot summer day, Elvis decided to take his niece Patsy and her friends to the fair. He tried to go incognito, wearing dark sunglasses and a wide-brimmed hat, but it was always a losing battle. Soon a crowd started to gather. He loved his fans, but sometimes he just wanted to enjoy a simple day out. As they were leaving the fair, trying to navigate through the growing throng, Elvis spotted a family struggling to load a massive teddy bear, a prize from a carnival game, and two tired, whiny kids into a tiny beat-up hatchback. The car looked like it had seen better days, probably decades ago. The mother, a frazzled woman with kind eyes, was trying to soothe a crying toddler, while the father wrestled with the giant bear, trying to cram it into the back seat. "Honey, it just won't fit," the father groaned, wiping sweat from his brow. "But Timmy won it," the mother sighed, exasperated, but trying to be patient. Elvis watched him for a moment. He saw the love, the exhaustion, the little everyday struggles that felt so far removed from his own extravagant life. He remembered winning a little toy for Gladys once, and how proud he had been. He knew that giant teddy bear meant the world to Timmy. He nudged his cousin Billy Smith. He knew that look in Elvis's eye. It meant another car was about to find a new home. As Billy went to retrieve the keys, Elvis walked over to the struggling family. "Having some trouble there, folks?" he asked, his voice warm. The mother looked up, then gasped when she recognized him. "Mr. Presley," she exclaimed, her hand flying to her mouth. "Just Elvis, please," he said, crouching down to smile at the little boy holding the bear. "That's a fine bear you won there, son. Too big for this little car, though, huh?" The little boy Timmy nodded shyly. "Tell you what," Elvis said, standing up. "I've got a bigger car just around the corner, a white one. It's got plenty of room for that bear, and for you all to ride in comfort." The parents looked confused. "But we're fine, Mr. Presley. We'll make it work." Just then, Billy returned, holding the keys to Elvis's brand-new white Lincoln Continental. It was a magnificent car, sleek and luxurious. Elvis took the keys from Billy, then turned back to the family. "This one's all yours," he said, handing the keys to the father. A fair prize for a family that clearly loves each other very much. No more struggling with teddy bears, you hear? The father, whose name was David, stared at the keys in his hand, as if they were made of gold. His wife. Emily started to cry, happy tears streaming down her face. "Mr. Presley," David stammered, we can't take this. It's a Lincoln. We're just, you're good people," Elvis finished for him. "And you need a reliable car. This one's ready to go. No strings, no payments. Just enjoy it. Think of it as a little something extra from the fair," he winked. "And that teddy bear will have the best seat in the house." He helped them load the bewildered children and the giant teddy bear into the spacious back seat of the Lincoln. Emily slid into the passenger seat, touching the soft leather. Tears still silently falling, David, still in shock, took the driver's seat. "Thank you, Mr. Presley," David managed to say, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you more than words can say." As they slowly drove away, the shiny white Lincoln gleaming in the afternoon sun, Elvis stood watching, a peaceful smile on his face. Patsy, his niece, came up to him. "Uncle Elvis," she said, her eyes wide, "you just gave away your brand new Lincoln? The one you just bought last week?" Elvis ruffled her hair. "That's right, sweetheart." And seeing their faces, "That's worth more than any car in the world." He paused, looking at the spot where the Lincoln had been. "Besides," he added, a mischievous glint in his eye, "now I have an excuse to go car shopping again tomorrow." For Elvis, it wasn't about the monetary value of the cars. It was about the freedom they offered, the relief they brought, the sheer, unadulterated joy on the faces of the people who received them. He was the king, yes, but more importantly, he was a man who understood the simple power of a helping hand and the unexpected magic of a truly grand gesture. And in Memphis, these gestures were becoming as much a part of his legend as his music. The garage at Graceland wasn't just a place to park cars. It was a sanctuary, a workshop, and often a showroom for the king's endless generosity. It was filled with Cadillacs of every color, pink, blue, black, white, along with Lincolns, Thunderbirds, and whatever other make and model caught Elvis's eye. But what was truly remarkable was how frequently those cars left the garage, not for Elvis to drive, but for someone else to cherish. Jen Smith, Elvis's cousin, spent a lot of time in that garage. He was often the one helping Elvis pick out a car for a giveaway, or driving it to its new owner. He knew the stories behind many of the vehicles, not just where they came from, but where they were going. One afternoon, Jean was polishing a magnificent black Cadillac Fleetwood, one of Elvis's personal favorites. Elvis walked in looking thoughtful. "Jenny," he said, leaning against a workbench covered in tools and car manuals. "Remember Charlie Hodge?" Jean paused his polishing. "Sure-y. The singer from the Jordanaires. He helps you with your music. Right, great guy." "He is," Elvis confirmed. "I was talking to him last night. He's been feeling a bit down. Says his old station wagon is on its last leg, barely holding together, and he worries about getting his kids to school, getting to recording sessions. He's trying to save up." Charlie was a truly dedicated musician and a loyal friend to Elvis. "He's always there for you. He never asks for a thing." "Exactly," Elvis said, "and that's why I want to surprise him. He wouldn't ask, so I'm going to give." He looked around the garage, his eyes scanning the various makes and models. "What do you think, Jen? Something practical but still nice. He needs reliability, comfort for the family." Jen knew Elvis wasn't just going to give him a simple sedan. It had to be something special, something Elvis himself would drive. His eyes landed on a brand new, shimmering silver Lincoln Continental, a four-door sedan. It was spacious, powerful, and elegant. Perfect for a family man who also needed to look sharp for work. "How about that Lincoln, E?" Jean suggested, pointing to the silver car. It's got plenty of room, smooth ride, and it looks sharp. Charlie deserves something really nice." Elvis's eyes lit up. "Perfect, Gene. That's the one. Let's get it ready and make sure it's got a full tank of gas." They spent the next hour getting the Lincoln spotless. Elvis, despite his fame, wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. He helped Gene wipe down the interior, check the tires, and even vacuum the floor mats. He insisted on doing it himself, saying it was part of the gift. "You know, Year," Gene said as they worked, "it's incredible. The number of cars you've given away must be dozens by now." Elvis shrugged, wiping a smudge from the dashboard. "More than I can counting, Gene. It's about giving. Remember what Mom always said, if you got it, share it. And I got it. Plenty of it. But why cars, Gene asked. "Why not houses or just cash?" Elvis paused, looking out at the gleaming Lincoln. "Cars mean freedom. Gene, for so many people, a good car means they can get to work. They can visit family." Later that evening, Charlie Hodge arrived at Graceland, thinking he was just coming over to rehearse some songs with Elvis. He walked into the garage, where Elvis and Gene were waiting. "Hey, Charlie," Elvis greeted him warmly. "Got something to show you." He gestured to the sparkling silver Lincoln. "That, my friend, is for you." Charlie's jaw dropped. He stared at the car, then at Elvis, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Elvis, what are you talking about? You're joking, right?" "No joke, Charlie," Elvis said, handing him the keys. "It's yours for all your loyalty, for all your talent, for being a good friend. Now you can get those kids to school in style, and you'll always make it to the studio on time." Charlie was speechless. He walked around the car, touching the hood, then slid into the driver's seat, his hands trembling as he gripped the steering wheel. I don't know what to say, Elvis. This is incredible, thank you." His voice was thick with emotion. Elvis just clapped him on the shoulder. "Just drive it, Charlie. Drive it in good health." As Charlie drove away in his new Lincoln, a huge grin plastered on his face. Gene turned to Elvis. He was really blown away, "That was a good one." Elvis smiled, a quiet satisfaction settling over him. "Every one of them is a good one, Gene. Every single one." The Graceland garage might have seen countless cars come and go, but the true treasure wasn't the vehicles themselves, but the endless acts of kindness they represented, flowing from the king's generous heart. Years passed, and Elvis's legend grew. His music filled the airwaves, his movies played in theaters worldwide, and his concerts were sell-out events. But amidst all the glitz and glamour, he never forgot the simple joy of giving. Cars continued to flow from his garage, changing lives one by one. The recipients rarely forgot the man who had given them such an extraordinary gift. In the early 1970s, Elvis was performing a series of shows in Las Vegas. After one particularly energetic performance, he was heading back to his suite when he was stopped by an older couple. The man, a distinguished-looking gentleman with a kind smile, approached him hesitantly. "Mr. Presley," the man began, "I apologize for stopping you, but my wife and I just wanted to say thank you." Elvis, always polite, paused. The man's wife, a gentle woman with silver hair, stepped forward. "My name is Mary, and this is my husband, Billy. Do you remember us? From a car dealership in Memphis. Back in the late 50s, we were expecting our first child, and you bought us a Chevrolet." A flicker of recognition crossed his face. "Billy and Mary," he exclaimed, a warm smile spreading across his face. "Of course I remember you. My goodness, look at you two. How are you doing, and how's the baby?" "That baby is 20 years old now, Mr. Presley. He's in college, studying to be a doctor, and we have 2 more wonderful children after him." The belief that things would get better, you have no idea what that meant to a young struggling couple like us. Elvis felt a profound warmth spread through him. He often gave these gifts on impulse, rarely seeing the long-term impact. To see Billy and Mary successful and happy, and to hear how his simple act of kindness had truly changed their lives, was deeply moving. "That's wonderful to hear," Elvis said, sincerely shaking Billy's hand and gently taking Mary's. "That's just wonderful. I'm so glad to see you both doing so well." "We tried to find you to thank you properly over the years," Mary continued, "but you were always so busy, so famous. We never forgot you, though we tell our children the story of the kindest man who ever lived, the one who gave us our first family car." Elvis was touched beyond words. He heard the cheers of the crowd every night, but these quiet, heartfelt thanks from people whose lives he had genuinely impacted meant more than any applause. Later that night, back in his suite, Elvis sat quietly reflecting on the encounter. His bodyguard and friend, Lamar Fike, noticed his contemplative mood. "Everything all right, More than all right, Lamar," Elvis said, a faraway look in his eyes. "I just met Billy and Mary. Remember them? The Impala from back in Memphis?" Lamar nodded. "Sure. One of the first ones you gave away. Their son is in college now, studying to be a doctor," Elvis said, a proud smile on his face. "They told me that car was the reason they made it, the reason they had a chance." He paused. "You know Lamar sometimes, with all this," he gestured vaguely to the opulent suite, "the demands of his career, it's easy to forget why I started all this, to make people happy, to share what I have, and those cars did more than just get people from one place to another." Lamar nodded. "They gave them a fresh start. A piece of hope. You've got a good heart, always have." Elvis looked out at the glittering lights of Las Vegas, but his mind was back in Memphis with a young couple in a brand new Impala, full of hope for the future. He realized then that his generosity wasn't just about the moment of giving, but about the lasting imprint it left. Each car was a seed of kindness growing into a legacy of changed lives passed down through generations. He might have been the king of rock and roll, but in those moments, he felt like the king of hearts, and that was a title he cherished deeply. By the mid-1970s, Elvis's car giving had reached legendary status. He had bought and given away hundreds of cars, perhaps even more, to friends, family, employees, complete strangers, and even fellow musicians. It was impulsive, heartfelt, and utterly characteristic of him. His motivations remained pure: to spread joy, to alleviate burdens, and to share his incredible good fortune. It wasn't about showing off. He never sought headlines for these acts, though they often found him anyway. It was a deeply personal act of kindness, a connection he cherished outside the manufactured world of celebrity. For Elvis, giving was a form of love, a way to show appreciation to those around him and compassion to those in need. One quiet afternoon back at Graceland, Elvis was sitting on the porch swing looking out over his vast estate. His mind drifted back to all the faces he'd seen, light up all the tears of joy, all the stunned silences that spoke volumes. His father, Vernon, came out and sat beside him. Vernon had long stopped worrying about Elvis going broke from giving away cars. He had accepted that it was simply part of who his son was, a part he was deeply proud of. "Thinking about all those cars, son?" Vernon asked gently. Elvis smiled faintly. "I reckon so, Dad. Just remembering all the folks, Betty and her pink Cadillac, Grandma and her blue Fleetwood, Billy and Mary with their Impala, Charlie and his Lincoln, even that young mechanic Tommy with his Mustang. So many stories tied to those cars." "They certainly made a difference," Elvis, Vernon said, nodding slowly. "You changed a lot of lives with those wheels. Gave folks a leg up when they needed it most." "That's all I ever wanted to do," Elvis replied, his gaze distant. "Especially with the people who needed it or who stood by me." He paused, a wistful look on his face. "Fame's a funny thing, Dad. It gives you so much. But it takes a lot too. Seeing that genuine surprise and happiness on someone's face felt more real than any sold-out concert. It felt like I was reaching out, touching a real person, not just a sea of faces." "You always had a big heart, son," always cared about people. That's why folks love you, more than just the music." Elvis nodded slowly. He knew his life was complex, filled with pressures and expectations that most people could never imagine. But in the simple act of handing over a set of car keys, he found a profound sense of purpose and connection. It was a tangible expression of his immense gratitude for his own blessings and his deep empathy for others. He might have owned a fleet of magnificent automobiles, but it was the ones he didn't keep, the ones he gave away, that truly defined his heart. Each car was a rolling testament to his generosity, a whisper of hope delivered on 4 wheels. It was Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll. But it was also Elvis Presley, the man who remembered where he came from and who never stopped trying to make someone else's journey a little bit easier, a little bit brighter. His car collection was impressive, but his car donating was truly unbelievable. It wasn't about the cars themselves, but the genuine, overwhelming love behind each gift, and that more than any gold record or sold-out show was the true legacy of Elvis Aaron Presley, the king with the biggest heart,